Hello and welcome back to the channel again. It's Marc Amenson from Wisconsin, and today's video is going to be an informational, not a training video, not here to train yet, but I'm going to give you the 4 major pillars to paramotor training in the beginning to get you going. Earlier this week, I trained a guy in 2 afternoons, starting at 5 o'clock. The second afternoon, he had his first flight in by about 7:30. So not a lot of time. Now, is he an experienced pilot that's gonna go out and fly on his own? Absolutely not. But we did these 4 pillars of training over and over and got him to the point where he lifted off. He was in good shape. He had done skydiving before, so he wasn't just some guy that started with no experience and no coordination. Anyway, these 4 pillars go like this. Pillar number 1 is kiting. Kiting is going to be hand kiting, laying out the wing, understanding the wing components from the risers to the lines, parts of the glider, hooking in to the harness and actually kiting with the harness, doing the hand kiting. So all things involving being in with the wing. Pillar number 2 is going to be power walking. Power walking is starting off really walking with the paramotor on your back. So getting the paramotor on your back without the engine even running, throttle in your hand, walking around. Okay, getting used to that weight. What's it like to feel with 55, 60 pounds of weight with your paramotor and gas in it? Put it on your back, walk around, get comfortable. When you're comfortable and you have appropriate footwear and the grass isn't slippery, you walk around and you're gonna do power walking. Power walking is actually giving the... Got him. Power walking is actually walking around with the engine running, having the throttle in your hand, and then working on the 3 P's. Posture, position, and power. Hand position, upright posture, and giving it power. Getting used to when the engine pushes you forward a little bit to lean back and be able to walk upright the way you're going to be when you foot launch. So that's the second one. The third one is going to be simulator time. That is when you actually hang from your paramotor, you get it set up so you have the proper angle, which is about like 7 to 10 degrees back for your paramotor, and then 6 hours minimum sitting in the paramotor. I don't care if you're on your cell phone, what you're doing. Get comfortable. Get out of the harness, get back into the harness. Put your hands up, reach around. Loosen the straps, tighten the straps, check the hour gauge, all the things that it's gonna be like when you're flying. So you gotta hang up something in your garage or from a tree and hang and get familiar with what it's gonna simulate and feel like when you're up in the sky. And the big number 4 is to kite with the engine on your back. So you have the engine on, you're hooked in, and you practice doing forward launches, reverse launches. I practice more forward launches with students early on because if it's too windy to do a forward launch, then they're not going to be flying. I'm not at the beach. I'm out here in the real world in Wisconsin. I want these students to be able to launch in that real world situation. So again, the 4 big pillars, and we're going to go to the park. We're going to do each of these. I'll show you the examples of them. Is number 1, kiting, hand kiting, harness kiting. Number 2, simulator time, hanging in the paramotor, getting familiar with what it's going to feel like being in that harness while you're in the air. Number 3, power walking, having the engine on your back, working on the 3 P's. Posture, position, hands like this, hands up, not forward. And power, adding power and leaning back and balancing the thrust with how you're walking. And then number 4, kiting the glider with the engine on your back and getting familiar with that. Let's get started. I'm going to go through each of them and show you how to do them. All right, as we head over to the park, I'll tell you a quick story. I taught myself how to fly. I bought gear and assembled it and taught myself how to fly without ever seeing anybody else in real life fly a paramotor. Right now, I'm at about 470 flights. I've hung out with a lot of instructors, learned a lot of great techniques for training, and learned also by being at a lot of different fly-ins and watching great pilots and not great pilots. The reason that I know that these techniques work is I've trained about 25 different pilots of various levels of skill. 14-year-old, a girl, a lot of dudes, older guys, And all of these skills applied, I use the same principles to get people into the air. Some people take longer. The more repetition, the more times that you can do these exercises, the better that you're going to be. Your instructor is going to be the one who's helping you. This is not a let's self-train video, but it's possible, and there's no regulation out there saying that you can. So if you choose to do that, be as safe as possible. I almost died on my first flight. I'll show you the radio antenna tower that I nearly ran into because I didn't completely know how to make a turn. It was a very educational flight, and afterwards I continued to learn a lot, and like I said, hung out with a lot of instructors and picked up these tips and techniques. And as I'm training my students, it might not take a full 7 days or 5 days to get them to fly, but we're talking about weather, site selection, airspace, all those different things as we're training. So the important thing is that there's a lot of knowledge, but you can't rush this. Repetition is key, and honestly, you need to do it a lot to get proficient and even to fly once safely your first time. If you do something wrong, you can die, you can get hurt, you can damage your gear. It's a risk, so you got to be smart out there. Okay, we're out at the airfield. See that radio antenna behind me right there? That's the one that I almost crashed into. So this is a park. As you can tell, there's a lot of soccer goalposts and stuff set up. If the bigger, more wide open of an area that you can get, the more successful. These are the 3 things that you want to incorporate to have success on your first flight. You want to have a great wide open area, so bigger the better. No trees, no power lines, nothing around. Number 2 is good conditions. You go out with good conditions, and when the weather is right and the breeze is good and things are safe, that's also important. 3rd is that you have the right sized gear. Don't be flying old, outdated, unsafe gear. Get exactly the right size wing, have the right size gear, and that improves your chance of success. Those 3 things are crucial. If you can get good weather, beautiful sight, and safe gear, you're going to eliminate a lot of problems right there. So here we are, we're out here. I got my wing, and I'm going to work on laying out the wing, and I'll explain to you guys the risers and different parts of the wing before we do some hand kiting. And right now I can feel the breeze. I feel it on my cheeks. That's how you tell the breeze. You turn, it's over here. Turn this way, it's over here. You gotta be able to feel the breeze along with having a windsock or any different wind indicators. So let's get this set up. All right, we got our spot picked out here. I'm gonna start taking the wing out of the bag. Got my riser bag. Take my risers out. These are the risers. I always click my risers in together when I'm done, push them in, that way they can't get tangled. Hook in points, trims, speed bar pulleys, brakes, cascade of the risers going up. So I'm going to grab my lines, go ahead, get everything out of the bag. When it comes time to kiting, I want to lay my wing out so the cells, the openings here, are going to be on top and catch the wind. So I can take my wing, throw it out here, carefully set the wing and the risers down with slack in the risers. Then I'll open up the wing. Boom, I got a good breeze today, so I can kite it pretty easy. It's not the best when you don't have a breeze. If you don't have a breeze at all, then it makes kiting more difficult. You're gonna work a lot harder. So get yourself a day when you have a slight breeze, it'll be easier to do. All right, now the first part of kiting is hand kiting. Hand kiting is when you kite it by hand. I hold the risers together like this. I grab with my right hand the A's. These are split A's, so I'm grabbing just the A's that go to the center of the wing. Once these are in my hand, I let everything else go. And back here by the brakes, I just grab just like this. Grab, boom, right here. Now I can control the wing forward and back and steer with just my bottom hand left and right. Kiting, you need to do 10 hours minimum. If you're gonna be doing this, get out there and kite. It's great exercise, it's fun to do, and it'll help you learn the wing. So first off, let's do some hand kiting. We'll bring the wing up. When you bring the wing up, you wanna use this technique to inspect the lines, and as you get better for flying and you have a breeze, you'll use hand kiting to lift the wing off the ground, inspect the lines, and set it back down in a nice horseshoe profile, which gets you perfectly ready for takeoff. Right now, it's middle of the day, it's thermally, the wind's direction is shifting, so I'm gonna need to kite the wing directly into the wind first. With the wind dying down and not having much breeze, it's important to be able to use that technique to build the wall, lift the wing off the ground. If it starts going left or right like it's going to when you start out, it's unnatural, set it back down right away. The goal is to lift the wing up, control it, set it down on the trailing edge, let the A's go so the cells open right back up. There's no substitute. You can watch every single video on the internet, but you have to get out and do it, and you have to do it a lot and get the feeling for it. Don't skip this process. You buy your gear, you want to go out and train, you want to learn how to kite by yourself, you got to get out and learn the right techniques. Don't learn bad habits. So I'm going to keep kiting it. I'm going to wait for little bits of breeze to come through. The better little gusts that I'm getting here in the middle of the day, the easier that'll be to pop the wing up. If you can get laminar wind or get by some water or just have a day with nice easy breeze, very helpful. But today I'm just going to work on popping the wing up, inspecting the lines, make sure everything's clear, set it back down on the trailing edge. If I get a good gust of wind or the breeze comes, pop it up, hold it up as long as I can, work on keeping it above me, not dragging behind, but above, and also steering with that back hand. There we go. All right, so it's midday. Winds are shifting because of thermals. Thermal activity makes warm air, the heated up ground, warm the air, and that rises up like a lava lamp. So right now there's no wind. There's no point in bringing the kite up right now when there's no wind. It's just gonna be frustrating. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go grab the harness and get that so I can come back. After I do my hand kiting, what I always have the students do is practice forward launches with the harness. So I'll go grab that and come back. All right, we're still on pillar one here of kiting. Hand kiting, and then we add in kiting with the harness. So I have my harness on, low wind, it's going to be hooking in, all these things you need to learn from the instructor to do the proper way. Some really good YouTube videos, but you got to learn how to hook in properly. So I'm going to go get hooked in, and then I'm just going to do a quick pop it up in the air and show you guys what a forward launch kiting with the kiting harness. Still, pillar one. All right, so as you can see, the important part on that is hooking in, getting centered on the wing, hand position, driving into the wing, bringing the A's up, and then releasing to kite across the field. You want to be able to do that. You're going to want to do that for at least 10 hours, and especially do it till you can consistently bring the wing up, get it overhead, and keep it overhead, and control the pitch both forward and back, and then control side to side. Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of getting used to, but that is pillar number 2. All right, now the second pillar is walking and power walking. Just getting used to this awkward, heavy thing on your back. You start off by using the 3 P's. You're really just using posture and position. Posture is being upright. Position is hand position. We'll add in power once we do this. You're gonna wanna just walk around with this thing for a few hours. And I don't mean a few hours straight, just total. If you do it 20 times and each time you do it for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, just get super comfortable with this thing being on your back. A lot of it is repetition, do it over and over again. So you wanna walk around, work on your posture and position. You should feel like you're squeezing a quarter between your shoulder blades. Don't look at the ground, stay looking up. Looking up keeps your head and your posture up. So walk around like this, This is phase one of the second pillar of just walking around without the engine running. Next, we'll start it up. Good, after you got to the point where the harness, everything is feeling comfortable, all your buckles, then we're actually gonna start the engine. We're gonna throw in that third P, the power part of it. I'm gonna walk around giving the engine power. I'm gonna get used to what it feels like when I give it power, if it torques, how much it pushes me. So this is important. This is another good 3-4 hours. Do it for 15-20 minutes at a time, just get used to it. Always wear a helmet, use common sense, use safety equipment and good shoes, open area, and yell clear prop. When you yell clear prop, then look around, then start it. Clear prop. Right there, that's called power walking. Super important part of the process, getting used to the engine, pushing thrust on your back, keeping your posture upright, your hands in the proper position, and getting familiar with that power plant being on your back. Very important, don't skip this over, do it a lot. All right, the next pillar is to do a simulator or a hang test. Get into your paramotor harness, get your leg straps adjusted. You want to have about 2 fingers worth of play, because that's going to give it enough slack for you to be able to run without it being tight, but also will pull the harness up to your butt when you're going to launch. So you can make something pretty simple. I made this setup right here behind me in the garage. I made some brake toggles that are on elastic, and I'm going to practice getting in and out of the harness, and this is minimum, like another 6-8 hours. Just spend time getting comfortable being in the harness. Make sure that your ropes are secure. And I like to do it like this, where I have the ability to get up higher, be up off the ground. So I can get out of the harness with my feet dangling and get back in the harness. If you're out of shape or you're a little overweight, it's going to be hard to get into the harness, just going to tell you. So you got to practice this a lot. You need core strength to get into your harness. Good, once you get to here, bada bing, boom. Take your little stool, get that out of the way. And this is it. Sitting in here, I said before, you want to have maybe a 7 degree. You don't want to be upright. You don't want to be leaned back in the air. So this is a great time to figure it out. So I'm just going to sit in here. They have, I can't reach it, the Powered Paragliding Bible. You can sit in here, read the Power Paragliding Bible, have yourself a White Claw or PBR or whatever you want, and just sit in here. Get used to adjusting all these different straps. Look at the straps, look at the carabiners, feel like what it's going to be like. Get your throttle adjusted so you can squeeze it properly. Put your hands in the proper position. Practice getting out like you're going to do for landing. 1 foot from the other, hands in the right position. Good. Getting out. Getting out. Getting out. Practice that. Just sit in here, really. Muscle memory, repetition. These 4 pillars aren't meant to be done. Do one and you're done. Do the next one, you're done. No, you need to continue to repeat the cycle. If it's too breezy, power walk. Do time in the simulator. When the conditions are perfect, get out to the airfield, do your kiting. Do your kiting with your engine on your back. All of these things should not be rushed. The more that you can do them, the more confident you're going to feel when you're flying. And the more confident you feel when you're flying, the more fun that it is. People get out of the sport because they're afraid to go flying. They haven't practiced enough. These things, along with so much more, along with reading over the entire Power Paragliding Bible front to back, watching as many educational videos online as you can, there's so much to it. And Tucker got, a lot of people make it look simple, but people die every year and people get hurt probably every single day and break gear. because they don't iron out and get the basics hammered in. These are things that you can do with your instructor on your own, but whatever you do out there, practice, practice, practice. Spend the time, it's worth it. It'll make you a better pilot and a safer pilot. And all of these things, they don't really cost that much money. For me to be able to sit in the simulator here, practice, I can read, talk on the phone, work on my laptop, but I want to get comfortable. I want to know what it's going to feel like when I'm in the harness, when I'm in the air, and know when that first flight comes that I'm going to be feeling good about it. So just make sure. Do each of these, do all the 4 of them. All right, the 4th and final pillar is going to be hooking into the glider with the engine on and kiting it. So you have the weight on your back, the throttle in your hand, and you're going to be practicing kiting. So I'm going to go ahead and hook into it, and no engine running. Just get used to popping the wing up, having the engine on your back, and this is kiting with the engine on your back, pillar number 4. Because once you get good at this, you're just going to add throttle. And there's a lot of important things to learn from your instructor. We're skipping over a lot of these things, but these are just the 4 pillars to get you in a position where you could fly. Definitely not everything here, because there's things like people that get into the seat and stop running and don't keep their eyes in the right position. There's 3 phases to the takeoff: inflate, taxi, launch. Many people skip the taxi part and just try to inflate and launch. And I'll tell you what, I can almost guarantee you're going to break gear and get hurt if you don't get proficient at all of these things. So I'm going to hook in and do a little kiting with the engine on my back. All right, so that gives you a pretty good idea. I have no breeze right now and no thrust with the engine on my back. So and the wing was coming up, but you're going to want to do it getting it overhead. A little bit of breeze will help, and will help you get that wing way overhead and then controlling it. Right now, it's middle of the day. Not ideal conditions to go flying due to thermals. All right, so right now it's middle of the day. Conditions are not breezy, thermally, but I'm going to do a quick launch just because I feel like showing you guys a launch and landing too. So rock it out. Again, don't fly without a helmet. This is just going to be a quickie. Well, now I guess I have to do that again because the gosh darn camera tipped over and the landing was freaking sweet, slide landing. Anyway, I'll try it again. Alright, it was probably too far away to see the landing. It was fairly terrible, but made it down. No winds are always tricky. Okay, so that's it. Those are the 4 essential pillars that you need to learn before flying a paramotor. And you got to take time. Don't rush into it. Find an instructor or a person, a mentor, somebody that's going to help you learn those things. And take your time, do each of them thoroughly, feel confident, and have another experienced pilot or instructor with you there before you do your first flight. It's foolish not to. You can almost guarantee that you're going to break gear or get hurt and have a bad experience with the sport. So do it the right way. There's these 4 pillars plus so much more. There's so much more. This just begins to scratch the surface, but these are the physical things that you're actually out there doing and not just studying things like airspace and weather and stuff like that. So all right, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, like the video, and be sure to check out PPG Supply online for any of your paramotor supplies and accessories. And that's it. Adios from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Have yourself a great day. Blue skies, stay safe.